privilege of hearing Tom before. He's been a long time supporter of our ministry and is always wonderful. I'll let him kind of provide a little bit about his background and how he came to found his current company, which is called Interview Coaching Solutions, as he provides professional interview coaching to folks. But he's just a wonderful guy and has been a wonderful resource for us. And we're really, really happy to have him back. So with that, Tom, the floor is yours. JD.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Can I get a thumbs up for the people on Zoom? Can you hear me? Good. And in the room, we can hear. Good.
Yes.
So on Zoom or in the room, if you have a question at any point, just stop me, holler out. We will stop. I'd rather address them as we're going along. Um, So, Jay, you make me blush. I'm humbled by your kind words. I was thinking about this. Our company started when I stepped away from the pharmaceutical industry, and not to be specific, January 2nd, 2018, 9 a.m. Central. Also started doing yoga that day. That was fun. Little fun fact. So in 7 years, through the power of networking, I met Jay. Please make a note of that. Your job search will be dramatically sped up through networking. Please don't rely on the job board solely. We've got the power of your computer, your phone. You've got so many things at your disposal that I didn't have 40 years ago when I started and I got my way into Johnson and Johnson. So that's where my career started, which is kind of comical because I had zero science experience. And this was at a point in the pharmaceutical industry where the sales staffs were still primarily hiring bench scientists or pharmacists, neither of which was I. I took one science class in college, and it was called Get the Hell Out of This Class with at least a passing grade. Seriously, it was science for non-science majors only. But I knew how to sell. And Randy Schweitzer had the courage and wisdom to hire me, and he knew that I had the gray matter. I had just never been challenged, and the rest is history. God bless Randy's soul. He left us far too young in a tragic bicycling accident. Um, Randy hired me on December 17th. Every December 17th, until the year he passed, I'd call him. So if you're not reaching back to the first person that really took a chance on you, make that an action item. Thank them. If nothing else, it'll be a fun conversation and they will appreciate it. So networking is going to be your friend. We're not here tonight to talk about networking. You've got other LinkedIn experts, resume experts, etc. I will challenge you if you find yourself getting all full of angst with your LinkedIn profile and your resume, find somebody through this organization to help you with that. The resume is going to get you in the door. It is not going to get you a job. It ain't going to do the selling for you. If you're relying solely on the job boards, that's 100% dependent upon the keywords. So you sure better get your keywords right. And if anybody says, gee, is Tom a resume writer? Out of 8 billion people on the planet, I am the last one you would want to have write your resume. So no, I'm not. You have great resources. Whomever you work with, make sure they get your keywords done. If I share my screen, let us see. Do, 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 do. Can everyone see that? Can we see this slide? Okay. So if you saw it earlier, oops, I hadn't changed the date. So yay. So attention to detail needs to be on your mind. Ladies and gentlemen, in transition, there's going to be days when you feel like an Apache helicopter. Go, 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 go. No, nobody can beat you. you're invincible. And then there's days you're like Helix and you just want to crawl up into the bed and just say, nobody likes me, nothing. Don't give up. Oh, and then there's days where you might even feel like you're begging. Don't feel like you're begging. Everyone has been in your shoes. It is now exceedingly rare and more so every single day that goes by. The universe of people that started a career either with the same company or they surf from company to company and they've never experienced a layoff. I had two in my time in the industry. Um, if you're in tech, good luck right now. You're swimming against a very strong current. If you're, I mean, it's industry after industry after industry. Things are being disrupted. And until the robots start completely running the world, and we're maybe closer to that than we think, um, there's something that breaks in your favor, and that is humans will make the hiring decision. Humans will be involved in that process. Please, please don't give up. And here's three things I want you to remember. And if you've seen me before, I always bring these up. If I'm new to you, please make a note of these. Job interview is a conversation. If you learn star interview technique, or maybe you learn some different ways to apply it and you already know it, okay, cool. I don't want you to turn yourself into a robot. Because if you do, if I'm interviewing you and you come in marching like a little robot, sorry, it's over. It's over before it starts. Number two, you're selling the greatest thing you'll ever have, and that is your God-given talent. Why does that matter? You can differentiate you from others through your talent. One. Two, great hiring managers are looking for the best talent they can find. Do they want experience? Sure. I contend if they hire only for experience, that's a divorce waiting to happen. People have to bring their talent, and it's up to you to sell your talent and differentiate yourself from everyone else. Thirdly, you're not going to win every interview. Newsflash. But there's nothing bad that happens because of a job interview. You're either going to advance in the process, get the job, or you get a chance to learn and grow. Learn and grow. So if you look at this, it's an interview where it's a conversation where you're talking about yourself, selling your talent, and nothing bad can happen. We're going to have a lot more fun with this. I contend we can turn this into a game. Here's one other opening thought. What's a typical interview? Somebody pipe up and tell me, what's a typical interview time that people are seeing? So if it's a first round, a second round, towards the final round, what are y'all experiencing and how much time allocation is there?
30 minutes.
30 minutes. Okay. Okay. Anybody got any different? Okay.
Depends
Yeah,
on
maybe
the round of
45.
interviews too. Some could last an hour or longer. You know, if
Yep.
you're through the interview process, you may have an HR round for 30, and then you have the hiring managers and higher level executives. So it just depends.
Absolutely. So we're going to see it from 30 minutes. And I want to make a plea to y'all. I hear people say this and my head explodes. Oh, it's just the HR. No, bro. That's the most important interview that you have today because that person is standing between you and advancing in the process. If you mentally go in and look at that person as just HR or just talent acquisition, a great HR and a great talent acquisition, they'll pick up on that. Oh, and guess what? You also miss the opportunity when they hand it over to you. Hey, Karen, do you have any questions for us? In fact, I do have a question for you. What do you love working about? What do you love most about working at this company? What? in their mind, they go, no one's ever asked me a question like that. Tell me what you love about your organization. What's your background? I looked at you on LinkedIn. You've had an interesting. I had a client the other day who found on a talent acquisitions LinkedIn profile something very specific about their degree. It was an unusual degree for someone recruiting for high level tech account. I mean, this is a $500,000 a year tech sales account executive. My client found a thin slice in this person's academic background, and she said, "Why did you choose that degree?" And this person just lit up. She said, "Oh my God, if you don't get placed in this job, I'm going to find a way to get you in another role in the company." Wow. The point I want to make about time, you control the time, meaning how it's used. They control the time allotment. It's up to you to make their time worth it. You do that, in my mind, particularly in the beginning. Once the small talk is done, I'm seeing a couple of different interesting trends. They will not ask the tell me about yourself question up front. They're still the overwhelming majority of interviewers that are new to you will ask that in some version. I am seeing, just to make you aware of this, a growing trend where they actually will put that second, which is interesting. How often are y'all getting the tell us about yourself question? A lot, every time. Every time. Okay. How's it feel when you get it?
I'm pretty comfortable with it.
Okay. Good. Anybody in the room there at the church got some feedback on that first question? Y'all thought you were going to sit on your hands. The answer's no. Anybody in the room want to throw something out there?
I just think that tell me about yourself is really more of giving you an opportunity to talk about your career goals, how you'd be a good fit in this job, things like that, I would think.
I like that last point. They already know your career because they've read your resume. Okay. Let's go to things that may not be so obvious. I am seeing a growing trend where they will let's pretend that someone is in healthcare industry and they're a PMP and they're being interviewed to be in project management. People will come in and they'll ask a lot of clarifying questions up front. What's the largest project you've ever managed? Blah, 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 blah. What was difficult about it? What was fun about it? Blah, 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 blah. And these are first questions. This is right after hello, good morning. So don't go in with the mindset, oh, it's going to be tell us about yourself. Could be. There's a growing percentage where it couldn't be. If it is the tell us about yourself, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to positively differentiate yourself. You can extend the clock by about 3 minutes as you're going through. With this first one, if it is, tell me about yourself, or it's twins, what are your key talents? What would you think is your biggest offering to us? Why should we hire you? That is fundamentally all the same question. You blow that, it's over. Sorry. They will be nice, but if you don't grab their attention from the beginning, it's not going to work. Here's why. If you go in and say, I graduated from fill in the blank university with a 3-point fill in the blank GPA, because everybody these days has a 3-point blank GPA. My degree is in this with an undergraduate with this, and I was captain of the football team, or I was the captain of the women's basketball team, and I was the head of my sorority, and I've got all of these wonderful things. I did 6 different internships. It's a wonderful background. over my, and you keep going and you go through all of your career. Even as glowing, you could be the captain of this and the president of that. Great. I can show you 10 other people that can do the same thing. But there's only one you. There's only one person that has your talent. There's only one person that has your talents and abilities and the aptitude to apply it to the job. And it's up to you to make those talents very clear. When Jay and I first met, we used to play the game, and I would, excuse me, ask a couple of questions, and we ultimately would land on, oh, it's Nike. Okay, so if the company is Nike, anybody want to yell out what their three-word tagline is?
Just
do
do it.
it.
Cool. When's the last time you saw a Nike placement on your phone, on your Twitter? Now that we're talking about Nike, everybody's phone is their feed. The algorithm's going to start sending them Nike placements. Nike spent billions of dollars putting that in your brain. Your branding statement will do the same. Your branding statement, we're going to talk about in a minute, is a bold declarative statement of your talents, what they mean for that company, because ultimately, if they hire you, you're telling them up front, this is why you're going to hire me. As you're going through your decision calibration process and you're separating all of the different candidates, this is what you're going to remember most about me. It's so interesting. And our friends in HR, feel free to pipe in here. Let's see. We had an agenda. We're somewhere rolling through that agenda. Couple of other reasons that the branding statement matters. Go to that last point. That talent is why they will hire you. I want to tell you a story that happened recently. So interesting. Company hired somebody about a year ago. My client came in second a year ago. About 2 months ago, my client gets called back and goes, bro, we made a mistake. You're up. Cool. That my client learned what ended up happening is the hiring manager got enamored by the shiny thing of the person they had hired originally, some experience that my client didn't have, some level of experience. And this is now a match made in heaven. And that just goes to my point. If a hiring manager only hires for experience, that's a divorce waiting to happen. So let me ask the group this. If I were to ask you, and I'm just going to pick on somebody, so y'all get ready. If I call on you and you're not a job seeker, just politely come on and say, nah, I'll pass. Jennifer, can you hear me? That requires hitting the take me off of mute button, or I can do that?
Is that Jennifer F? Yes.
Oh, we have more than one Jennifer? I'm sorry. So Jennifer, you are a job seeker?
Yes, I am.
What industry?
Nonprofit,
Good.
preferably.
And what's your background been?
Administrative assistant.
Perfect.
And over the last 2 years, I was a auto sales adjuster with insurance in the insurance industry.
Oh, cool. So if let's say you're interviewing at a nonprofit and somebody rolls in and says, straight up, tell me why I should hire you. What's your gut reaction to that?
I believe I'm the best fit for the job
Okay, good. Tell me
with my
why.
years of experience.
Okay. Oh, I can get you. See, do you mind if I play a little game with you, Jennifer? See, I can get people with the years of experience.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not a differentiator. So what would differentiate you? If you had to say, Tom, here's 2 talents that I believe to be true about myself, what would those talents be?
Okay, so I love people. Oh gosh, my brain is gone dead. I'm laughing, excuse me, because I just had a video interview yesterday. I had to send in this, and those were the two questions. Tell me about yourself. Why do you think you're the best fit for the job?
All right. Well, you may be too close to that. That's so interesting that I called on you. All right, so Jennifer, go back on mute. Katie's iPhone number 2, mysterious name. Katie, can you hear me? And are you in a position to take yourself off of mute?
Hi, I am.
Oh my God, are you a radio announcer? I love that. That's golly. All right. So Katie, what industry or so are you a job seeker and what industry are you looking to pivot into? And if you had your role, what would it be?
Well, I'm currently in education, but I'm looking to leave it. I currently have a job, but I'm just considering making a career change.
Okay. Education as in I'm a teacher, I'm an administrator, what?
Teacher,
What grade?
4th,
Oh, God bless you. Oh, okay. That's wonderful. Private school or public school?
public.
Did y'all see that? How efficiently I can get through her experiential background? Now, if I had my resume with me, I would know even more about Katie's iPhone number 2. All right. So, Katie, if I come in and go, okay, what are your top 3 talents as a teacher? Oh, well, wait a minute. You're looking to pivot. Do you have a particular industry you're looking to pivot into? Because teachers can go many different directions.
Yeah, I definitely would like to use the skill set I have, in terms of organization, being able to manage, multitask, and be creative. So
Okay.
I'm really just beginning, so I haven't really nailed down what industry I'm interested in.
Oh, how fun is that? Your future is limitless, right? So
Hmm.
let's say that you're interviewing at HCA, big hospital company here in town, um, and they need an education specialist. Okay.
Okay.
And you got an interview with the director of education specialists, and they say, Katie, give me your top 3 talents. Go.
Organized, I'm creative, and I'm hardworking.
Okay. Give me a different word than hardworking. Everybody's going to work hard. Give me a different one.
Oh, goodness. Determined? Is that the same thing?
Ooh, through my determination, I will work hard and I've got a creative eye and I can organize anything you need organizing. That's why you're going to hire me. See, you can take a few words these are not invented words. These are words that you know to be true about yourself. Look at past performance reviews. If you have a significant other or spouse, or in my case, if the dog were to be able to talk, he could verify and validate things. But it's got to come from your heart first. I'm going to teach everybody here a very important lesson about the interview preparation. Everybody see these? Do y'all know what these are? Yeah, fingers, right? What do these fingers do? They type on these keyboards. I can get things out of my brain through the nerves in my arms to the nerves in my fingers, and through memorization of learning how to type 100 years ago, I can type everything out. When I do that, I'm creating things in a document. Now I've involved the visualization of it. So when you're doing any interview prep, regardless of which adventure you choose as far as interview prep, take the time to write it down. I never care if people write in bullet point or war and peace or somewhere in, but they can write prosaically or prose. They can write paragraph form. It could be in a foreign language as long as this language they speak. Get it out of your brain. All right. Who else can I play with? Ooh, let's see. Catherine Garnett. Lovely headshot. Are you a job seeker?
I am.
Oh, good. And what industry are you in now?
I worked for an advertising agency for
Ooh.
many years, mostly doing market research and user experience, customer insights research.
Fun. Are we in transition already? That's code for I've been laid off. Or am I looking to pivot from current role to a new one?
I am in transition. I'm currently doing some fundraising or some freelancing while I look for a full-time position.
Oh, very smart, very smart. Ooh. Catherine, can we take a jog to the left here and I can compliment you? If you have the ability to freelance in your scope where you're going to go interview for your next position, absolutely, that's fair game. I'm not going to say it's going to rise to your resume. It ultimately could be a resume filler. Again, 8 billion people. I'm number 8 billion and one. But it sure is something that you can talk about inside of the confines of the interview. All right, good. Okay, so y'all watch this. Catherine, pleasure to meet you. Role play with me here. There's free prizes that come along with this. All right, lots and lots of prizes. Jay has them. You just have to, track his car down. Catherine, tell me about yourself, if you would, please. And we're role playing. We're in an interview. Go.
Okay. Well, I have more than 10 years of experience working in advertising and communications. Most recently, I was doing a lot of market research and user research. The user experience research was for several different kinds of clients, but I did a lot of research for enterprise organizations, financial and professional services organizations.
Okay. Let me
And
stop you right there.
all
Let me
right.
stop you right there. All of that is factually correct, right? 100% factually correct. And if you stick with that, and I'm not saying you're not going to share that because you said some really cool things in there. I just want you to answer the question first because the question was tell me about you, not tell me about your background. And
Okay.
remember, they've already read your background. The computers read you. The robots have read you. Talent acquisition has looked at your paperwork because the computer approved you and put it in my inbox. So, that's 2 or 3 entities or people that have looked at your paperwork. They already know your background. All right.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
not saying we avoid it. So here's
Well, doing that kind of work, one of my biggest strengths is finding the intersection between what the business goals are and what the customer actually wants, and finding the intersection between those so that everybody feels successful.
okay. Okay. I'm going to compliment you and celebrate that simple word choice, the intersection between. I guarantee you, if that person at the end of a long interviewing day, that word intersection will rise. And so those of you that are in creative type of roles, lean on your wordsmithing. Those of us that are not, grind away. Okay. It's your branding statement. Thank you, Catherine. Chase Jay's car down. He has things for you. I can
Thank you.
and for those of y'all that have participated thus far, thank you. I can no longer give Tom dollars away. Tom dollars, you're able to spend those on Pluto. Tell us about yourself. Let's not bore them right off with a bat. If you go down the road of my name is, and I graduated with, and I've got 10, 15, 30 years of experience. Cool. It's all factually accurate. You're just boring me because every single other person does that. Let's be different. All right. So don't bore them. And I believe this will be in y'all's repository of documents. Just a flow chart. See, I about did a bad thing and I almost had to put money in the swear jar. I almost said just a little. Okay. Let's not minimize our words. So if you have a tendency to minimize your words, stop that, become aware of it, and then just reduce it. Okay. I can say my dog is little, but I can't say things like, "Oh, it's just a little form I want you to look like." No, this is the most important slide that we've had this whole thing. When they ask you, "Tell me about yourself," you just smile at them. Thank you. I'm glad you have taken your time to meet with me. Oh, and I'm glad I've got the opportunity to learn about you, and for you have the opportunity to learn how my talents can fit within your organization. And if you're not comfortable with Tom words, cool. I'm not trying to turn you into Tom robots. But I am saying you have earned the right to go and have some simple presumptive selling techniques. Now, if we're going around the clock dial here, I'm down around, I don't know, what would that be, 4 o'clock as I'm looking at it. Let them know I have studied your organization. Let's say we're at Jay's Bank. I've studied your organization. This is the bank for me, where y'all have been and where you're going. I love your vision. Allow me to introduce myself. Here are the traits that I bring. ABC. I'm not a big fan of making a 2 to 3 sentence. A client of mine, I run a workshop on branding statement for candidates, and I do say write out 2 to 3 sentences. And then what we do is we come back and we pull out the keywords, the action words. So this person last week took about a 2-sentence branding statement, and it by itself was really good. And I asked her this simple question: remove the extraneous words and make it persuasive, make it punchy. She was quiet for a moment, and folks, her branding statement went from, yeah, really good. It went to boom, boom, boom. Nike just do it equivalent. It was, I was going like, it was a showstopper. So here's a cheat sheet on how to create your branding statement. Step 1, write it down. Here's what you're going to write down: professional descriptive adjectives that you believe are accurate about yourself. Things such as organized, I'm tenacious, I'm empathetic, I have attention to detail, I can see around a corner, I can anticipate problems. Words or short phrases that are professionally descriptive of you. Make a bullet point list. Set it aside. Put no more than 20 on there. You're way overthinking it if you're north of 20. And I would even submit if you're really north of 15, you've gone too far. Set it aside, come back. This is where it gets weird. I want you to read those words out loud. You're not negating, you're not prioritizing, you're not nothing. What you're doing is you're identifying the words that give you energy. Here's why that matters. When you can identify those words that give you energy, your engagement level goes up, your persuasiveness goes up, your shoulders are stronger, you're in a stronger position, because every one of these words is true, and the ones that give you the energy, just highlight those in yellow. Now you've got your standout words. We've stolen a lot from our marketing brethren with this whole notion. And then put together your branding statement is there. It's like an ice sculptor. You need to chip away everything else that's not in service to that ice sculpture. All right, I'm going to stop for just a moment and come back over here. Questions. I've been blathering on. Who has questions? Nobody? We answered it all. Send your money to Interview Coaching Solutions.
I have one. In interviews, rather than being asked the tell me about yourself, I get a lot of talk me through your resume. And so obviously they already have the experience, so they know what that is. Are they looking for anecdotes and success stories, or what are they looking for there?
Okay. Oh, that's such a great question. That's a wonderful technique that they will use to see, can you defend your resume? So just a hint, Catherine, perhaps you say, happy to walk you through my resume. Let me show you what you're going to see. Insert branding statement. Now, here's why I say these things about me. Do you want me to start with my last role? Or you want me to go back? And you can tell them, let me get you to clarify this. Do you want me to start with my present role, or do you want me to go back to the beginning of time? And they will let you know. So let's say they say, take me from the beginning of time. And I'm going to use mine as the example. I took my first role with Johnson & Johnson because Randy Schweitzer had the courage and wisdom to hire somebody he never should have hired. He saw raw talent. I provided that, and I provided the work ethic and the motor and the grind. And he made sure that he trained me every step of the way. Had a promotion to hospital rep within 3 years, and I was a divisional manager at the age of 32 at a time that was unheard of. What did I learn there? I learned during that DM role to look for top talent and to coach it. Hint, hint. The first word in my personal branding statement, I'm a coach. So I want to drop in some of the words from my branding statement into whether it's a walk me through your resume or answers of star questions. From there, I would say during J&J, I won international awards. I won regional sales awards. I had multiple people that I developed and mentored and coached into higher roles, some of which have gone on to be CEOs of companies. Unfortunately, it wasn't me. I mean, you can have fun with this, all right? And so I'll stop right there. Catherine, does that make sense how I can put in some things?
Yes. Mhm.
Now, to your point, if they want an anecdote, you say, well, thus far, what would you like me to expound on? That's a trial close. And they'll let you know. There's a question. I see a raised hand. Catherine, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. Yes, question.
Karuna. Yes, my name is Karuna.
Corona. Good.
Different Karuna. Yeah. So question is, so the different levels, the different rounds of interviews, is there a different strategy to use if you're talking to, for example, a hiring manager versus the recruiter versus the CEO, what kind of strategy and prep one needs to do if you're talking to, for example, with an HR manager as a round
Okay.
one?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a huge question. Corona, can I ask a background question? What industry are you in? Are you already in transition or looking to make a pivot, et cetera? Give me a.
Absolutely. I'm in IT. In fact, you described a profile a little bit ago in the program management in healthcare and IT industry. So I'm trying to get in that similar role in transition right now.
Cool. And again, everybody, since we're in a very safe space where I can give each other a virtual hug, transition means we've been laid off. It happens. I love the fact it's a wonderful background to have. Okay, so your question is a very good one. Do I have different strategies for each step in the interview journey? You betcha you do. Here's why. If I go from talent acquisition, see, here's how you get to this building of your strategy. During that talent acquisition, or maybe it's an external recruiter at your level, maybe it's an external retained search, that sort of thing. I'm going to be gaining insights during that first encounter with talent acquisition. Now I go to the HR or to the hiring manager, and I am seeing this is a very clear trend, and it's somewhere north of 50%, depending upon the industry. People are now entering into the interview process with the hiring manager, and talent acquisition is second or third, maybe fourth. So somebody's finally gotten smart and broken the habitual pattern that we've all come to expect. So the simple answer is yes, you will tweak your journey based on, and this is a big word, insights that you learn from them. How do we learn insights? Listening, running our play. And then when they say, hey, what questions do you have for us? We ask great questions of them. Let's avoid stupid questions. Hey, what's your management style? Beer Friday on Thursdays, cotton candy and puppy dogs. Nobody's going to tell you they're a micromanager maniac. Okay? Let's ask great questions. So as we're asking great questions, Corona, what ends up happening, you go, ooh, now I've got that. That lets me know if they ask this question, then I am going to be able to use this response. Maybe, for example, J&J, let me go back to my original company. They just, within the last 2 to 3 weeks, reported earnings. Maybe I picked something up in that earnings call. And now I'm in that next interview and I go, hey, on thus and such day in January, y'all reported that your CEO reported this. So I'm going to pick on J&J. Was mentioned once again about the talc lawsuit. What insights can you share? Does that ever come up that I would be impacted with? Just a weird example, all right? So as you're learning different insights from whatever source, and the biggest source is your eyes, your ears, and your brain. The second source is responses to your question that you gain true insights. Well, how do we gain insights, Tom? Oh, I don't know, bro. Let's ask questions like, hey, Catherine, I'd like to get your insights on the culture you all have built and what you aspire for it to become. That's also a fun way of avoiding the stupid question of, hey, what's your culture? Beer Fridays on Thursdays, cotton candies and puppy dogs. Nobody's going to tell you they have a toxic work environment. Their body language will, but they verbally are not going to tell you that. Great questions lead to insights. Insights allow you to do exactly what you're talking about, and that is to progress your strategy step by step by step by step.
Got it.
Boy, that's a fun question. We could do a whole workshop on that. Whew. Okay. All right. I am looking at the clock. We are burning time. I'm happy to go as long as y'all want. Any other questions at this point? Okay. I do want to make one other point. When you come out of here, so if you're coming from this point, there's your branding statement. This part, this is choose your own adventure. Okay. You can sprinkle in some of your background. If, as Catherine asked, what if they want you to walk you up the background? They may stop you at that point. I'm glad you're mentioning your background. Can you do a walk up for me or walk backwards? Okay, cool. Yeah. And I would, if I were presented with that, I absolutely would say, please remember the traits that I've shared: coach, cheerleader, scorekeeper. You will see that as I'm doing this historical review. All right. And just one last point about this, to tell us about yourself can come in many different questions. Tell me about yourself and what are your key traits? It's the exact same question. Why should we hire you? It's the exact same question. All right. Another question for the group. For those that have had recent interviews defined as last 6 months, is everyone getting interview questions that sound like, hey, tell me a time when X? Everybody getting those? Good. Describe a time when you fill in the blank. Everybody getting those? All right. The twin to that's a behavioral question. The twin to it is a situational question. So that might sound like when you were faced with a difficult discussion as a leader, how did you handle it? Okay. When you were faced with terminating someone, how did you handle it? So they define more of the situation than they would not. Okay. I am seeing chats down here. Okay. Now, Ray, show or shout out in the last 6 months, how many questions have you heard that start like this? How would you build, let's say you're a manager, how would you build teamwork amongst your work group? What is your thoughts? What are your thoughts on building a great team? Anybody had those types of questions?
Similar, yes.
Okay. Have you had questions of, man, I'd like to get your thinking on fill in the blank?
So the last interview I had, they were looking for project management experience with a CRM for a CRM administrator. So they wanted to know my thoughts on 30, 90, and 120 days into a project as far as how I would approach them.
Good, good. I call those questions philosophical questions. And the technique to answer them would be, let's address their question right up front. What is your thought? Let's say we're PMP. What are your thoughts on project management in general? Well, my thoughts on project management are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Let me tell you why I say that. Boom. Let's say it's the question is, how do you build great teams? I build great teams by looking for the top talent, drafting the best draft choices that I could get, fitting the talent to the needs of my team, developing that talent, and then getting out of their way. Let me share an example of my most recent team. Most people don't do that folding into the, let me share an example of they don't give a supporting example. That's a trap game for those of us that are basketball fans. If you just give my thoughts on building great teams are A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you miss the opportunity, because that's where most people are going to stop. You miss the opportunity to say, Larry, let me share you why this is so important. My last team, we were the Muppets. I mean, whew, I didn't have to fire anybody. I had people miscast, and I had to shuffle some chairs, and I had to do this. More importantly, they and me as the leader had to come together. So you see how you can give that supporting example. All right. Let me ask this question this way in the spirit of time. Anybody on the call or in the room not familiar with the STAR interview platform?
There are people here that may not be aware of that.
Okay. So STAR interview. Why is that doing that? Okay, so STAR is an acronym that stands for Situation, Task, Action, Result. So they're going to say, tell me a time when you had an angry customer. Easy peasy interview question. You want to give them the situation. In my last job, so you want some timing referred to it in there. I was dealing with our region's third largest company. Now I know the magnitude of it. And Miss Smith had always been the nicest buyer. Boy, on this day she called and she was furious and was threatening to take her business away. And I had to do something. Now I'm still in the situation. Now, the T in STAR stands for tasks. Even though I'm trained the trainer qualified, I separate myself a little bit because I want to enhance that. I talk about what are your role and responsibility. So that would sound like this. As the account executive responsible for Miss Smith's account, it was my role and frankly my duty to figure out why this very loyal customer was so bloody angry. So the very first thing I did, so you see what I'm doing now, I'm down into the action component. That's what the A stands for. So the first thing I did was just let her know, Miss Smith, I'm going to listen to every single word to try to help you. Please tell me what is your problem. And then I just shut up and I listened and I took great notes. And if I had an issue where I didn't understand, I would politely, professionally interrupt or interject and say, could you clarify this for me? And then she would get in a tirade and she would go again. And I'd say, okay, I'm with you. Thank you for clarifying that. And through that clarification process, I actually determined that the hot button was something that had happened with accounting. So I had to tell Miss Smith, please give me 2 business days. Now, only reason I did that is I didn't know if Jill and Jim that I knew in accounting could handle this. I didn't know what their schedules were. So I bought a little time because I knew this wouldn't take long. So I set up an appointment with Miss Smith for Tuesday afternoon, last call of the day. I gave myself, a good slug of time. I got a hold of Jill over in accounting, and she realized, this was a data management, and it was coming from the database shop. I didn't realize that. Now I've got a time issue because it's going to take longer than last call of the day on Tuesday. My next step was to call the people in the database and say, when can I get on your books? This is urgent. Building going to burn down, urgent. Do y'all see what I'm doing with this action piece? I'm describing every step of the way, and I'm giving what I was thinking, what the customer was thinking, the concurrent conversations that I was having, alternatives. The magic happens in the action. The more descriptive you can make it, the better. Here's why. That is where you will connect with the buyer. The buyer in your case is that interviewer. Don't forget, every interview is a buying situation. The buying starts when they started connecting with you emotionally and your stories emotionally. So the stories will connect when you get down to descriptive detail. So you go through that whole story, and hopefully in the end, Miss Smith's problem was solved. It could be the problem wasn't solved, and you had to escalate it to you having a meeting with the regional, and you and the regional got on an airplane and flew out to Miss Smith's plant, and you did some hand holding, and y'all figured out something completely different. In the end, you will have a resolution. STAR, STAR, situation, task, action, result. I'll stop right there. Questions? Hopefully that was clear. All right. But Tom, where do these answers come from? Well, they come from your brain. You've lived the stories. We don't invent any stories. You have already lived the story. You know the answer. Here's a methodology to get your answers collated and put you in a position to play from a position of strength. I have my clients look through their background at 4 specific individual categories. I call them pillars because they hold up the interview. First, intellectual ability. You're going to be asked questions about your intellectual ability, problem solving, critical thinking, strategic thinking, et cetera, et cetera. And guess what? You've got stories from your background that you can type out. Second, your responsibility and maturity. Maybe it's, they're looking for your trustworthy, your reliability, maybe that's leadership. Maybe it's your ability to influence. You've got those stories. I don't care what role you've been doing. These 4 pillars work for any role. Next one is your assertiveness and enthusiasm. Maybe they're going to ask questions about your ambition, your enterprising nature, your ability to keep going against all odds. Maybe it's you being the one that's got the cheerleading ability to keep the team up when the team is down. And then the 4th category is your interpersonal skills, getting along with people, teamwork, active listening, empathy, conflict resolution, respect, sensitivity. And guess what? You have these stories. You've already lived them. And the details of your stories matter. They absolutely matter. So they get to know the thinking of your specific action because you're going to be talking in first person, telling stories about you. We'll come back to that in a minute. And we talked earlier about the magic being in the action, and descriptive detail is the magic of the magic because that connects emotionally. All right. So let me stop sharing for just a second. Oh, no, I don't want to restart my computer. I have updates available. How horrible would that be if I were in an interview and that came on? I had a client that happened with me, and it was practice, thank God. And they were a C-suite client, just saying.
Yeah. Speaking of which, do those updates ahead of time. Double check.
Yes, thank you. Amen. You get Tom dollars. That's it. Turn all your notifications off. Update your computer. Update the software that you're going to be using. Update anything that can be updated. Update your updates. All right. Okay. So we know they're going to be asking questions, and it'll be those questions. Their questions will be based on 2 different controlling documents, we'll call it. Number 1, the core competencies of the company. Where can I find that? Right on their website. And a lot of people in their talent acquisition side of their company website, they'll put, here's what we believe. And it'll be in the career section. Some of them are actually putting the flipping questions in there now. So they're giving the dog the homework in some cases, which is startling to me. The United Nations does that. That was the first time I became aware of any company doing more do it than you think. So the core competencies and then the job description. With those 2 documents, studying them, I can basically get you in the zip codes 2 to 3 over from where they're going to land. I don't care what the questions are. I can go to Google and say, give me the top 25 interview questions for CFO positions. Enter. I can get 1,000 of them within a millisecond. For fun, I can go to Chat GPT and ask, what are the questions and what are the answers? Trust me, that happens. And people try to memorize it. Don't do that. I don't care what the questions are. What I care about is something you cannot Google. That's your stories. Your stories come from your head and your heart. And you've got to go back and you've got to, with purpose and intention, get in a quiet spot and think of the stories that matter the most. So watch this. Country boy way of doing this. We create a storyboard. Remember, there's 4 pillars: intellectual ability, responsibility and maturity, assertiveness and enthusiasm, and then finally interpersonal skills. Think about stories. Start with intellectual ability. What stories do I have that demonstrate my intellectual ability? And you'll think of several, all of which are accurate. Select 2, write them out in star format. And then go to the next category. And then the next and the next. You will end up with a tool chest full of stories. Not that you're going to memorize them, but you're going to have gotten at least 8 of them out of your head. Preparation is not thinking about stories in your head. You lose if that's your prep. Because you're going to have somebody that's going to come behind you that's going to make video recordings of themselves. Maybe they've worked with someone like me or a family member or the church members, and they're going to have practiced out loud. Patrick Mahomes is not going to get on the field and win the Super Bowl on Sunday without having practiced all year. Okay. Other than the Titans, I happen to be a Chiefs fan. My buddy was a coach there until he retired 2 years ago with his 3rd Super Bowl, 2 from Kansas City, 1 from Green Bay. You've got to practice. And my head explodes when people say, oh, yeah, I rehearsed my answers in my head. Oh, good for you. That's a losing position to be in. Get it out. Get it out. Does everyone on the phone, the computer, or in the room have something that looks like this? It could be the Apple. It could be an Android. Isn't Helix cute? That's my screensaver. Did you know in every one of these things there's a video recorder? Did you know the video recorder is the greatest interview prep tool that you can find? When's the last time you made a video of yourself answering interview questions? Just saying. That's prep. So write your stories out. One last thing about stories. Recency bias. It's alive and doing well. Recency bias is defined as I, as an interviewer, will value at a higher rate more recent as opposed to more distant stories. But Tom, does that mean I can't tell a story past normally accepted recent bias? No. You can. They just can't have 85% of them come out that. Well, what's recency bias time band? 3 to 5 years. Now, I want y'all to think about that. We're at a point now to where, believe it or not, the pandemic is now about to age out of recency bias. Isn't that interesting? 3 to 5 years. Now, there are exceptions, and you can dip back. Let's say it's pre-pandemic story that you have. I'm not saying don't dip back in there and get it, but that's the exception versus the rule. And then there's another exception. To me, it's the greatest interview question. What is your proudest professional accomplishment? I don't put a time limit on that. And frankly, I've had interviews with people that was the only what I call main question that I asked them. and had a 2 hour interview with them because they would say, well, here was my proudest accomplishment, da 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 da. And I said, wow, that's interesting. It seems like you considered several alternatives. Yeah. How did you select them? How did you deselect? Walk me through your process of deselecting. Oh, well, now wait a minute. That left you with three. Why these three and not those four? Did you do a comparison? So I mean, I can take you down deep into a rabbit hole with that one question, and it should be something you should be very, very proud of. Hopefully by now y'all can attest to the fact I'm really proud that Randy Schweitzer had the courage and wisdom to hire me. I am very proud of the fact that somehow I got my way into that interview and somehow got that job. It had a profound impact. Let's go back to sharing and then we'll start to wind down. Shout out any questions because we're winding down. All right. I think this is in the group's web or your repository. Go take a look at Simon Sinek's TED Talk, How Great Leaders, and you're looking for that. It's the whole notion of getting to why it's the golden circle. Listen to that statement. He says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Make your talent the why you do it. Let your purpose and your why become very, very clear. All right. Any other questions? What questions?
Anything else? Nothing here.
All right. If y'all could all do me a favor, next steps, you've got or Jay can provide my email. Our website is interviewcoachingsolutions.com. Find us on LinkedIn, find us on Facebook, find us on Instagram. If we're not connected already, please connect. And I'm happy to accept everyone's connect request. You want to talk? Happy to do that. I see a lot of y'all are oh, there's the chat thing. Now I see. Hey, Tom learned how to work the chat bot. Let me see if there's anything. Keep an eye on the job board for CNM. Good, thank you. Okay, good.
Great material, Tom. Thank you very much.
Yes.
We appreciate it.
All right, y'all. Y'all have a great rest of the evening. If anyone wants to talk, give me a holler. Jay, thank you so much as always. Okay.
Thank you so much, Tom. This is great. I wish I had your energy level at 8:15 at night. It's amazing. But again, thank you so much for speaking tonight and your continued support of our ministry. Have a great one. We'll see you.
Y'all too. Drive safe, everybody. Right. Good night.
Thanks, Tom. We'll see you. Yeah, he's good. He's really, really good. He went a little Socratic. He started calling. Oh, you do?